I'm Mel and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to be set free, where you get an understanding of the quantum tools and the ways to heal from narcissistic abuse. So today what I'm talking about is the number one reason why we've been narcissistically abused. And if we're in a victim orientation, we may just think that because narcissists are so terrible and they're so clever and they're not easy to understand and they're a scourge on the planet. But when we're doing a Thriver orientation, we take it to such a much deeper, empowering level where we're taking the power back into our bodies. And that's what I'm talking about today, is this number one reason why we can be narcissistically abused, and it's also the number one reason why we may not be healing from narcissistic abuse. Now, this reason is to do with being self-partnered. If we're not self-partnered, we are highly susceptible to being abused. Now, I just want to retrack a little bit into a bit of a history lesson about the last few thousand years on this planet. And, a major part of this that highlights it is that when the Roman Catholic Church came into power, there were crusades across many countries, and these were literal witch hunts where if people that were connected to the ecology of nature or the healing arts or midwifery or their intuition, they were highly suspect as a witch, and there were lots of assassinations of witches. Now, this went on in the 1600s, it went on in the 1700s, and even in South America, it was up until 1830 that there were still witches being executed. So what that message was don't be connected to the ecology of oneness in your body, to the planet. Don't be connected to the rhythms of nature or yourself. And then what we also had was the Industrial Revolution, and people stopped tilling their own fields and working as a community, combining resources, and they worked for a boss. And the conditions in the Industrial Revolution were absolutely atrocious. So many families were put through insane hours and conditions with very few rights just to get enough food on the table to survive. And books like Angela's Ashes, and that's what went on, and this is what our forebears have come from. So rather than being in a wholeness and a oneness and a unity with themselves and their environment, they were thrown into fear and survival and disconnection from self, thrown outside of that ecology into trying to survive. Now, this is automatically post-traumatic stress disorder. Then what we also had was the rise of consumerism, which was, well, I'm feeling anxious, I've got a highly stimulated nervous system, I'm not feeling whole or at peace or at one. Now, maybe if I just get that newest, shiniest thing in my life and I buy it, well, that's going to take my pain away. Now, as celebrities know, they get to the absolute top of the rungs of life and they have all the money and everything they could ever want, but they're still not whole. And in a lot of times, they break down and have incredible depression and, as we know, all sorts of problems because they thought that was it and it's not it. Now, if we've all been disconnected, we totally have been disconnected. So what's happened is, apart from that, being trained into not self-partnering, which meant that we felt emptier and more traumatized and not at peace and struggling with false substitutes to feel at peace. And we didn't get connected to a higher power. And I really want you to understand, as far as higher power goes, I'm not knocking any religion. My beliefs are very spiritual. They're about oneness and they're totally unconditional. For me, whether you can get your divinity through a rock or an outer deity doesn't matter. And divinity to me is being self-partnered, being in love and self-respect and respect for ourselves and others. Now, we can blame narcissists, they're not like that, but we really need to have a good look at what we're generating in our life. Because if we're not self-partnered, if we don't have an ability to come home to ourselves, to self-soothe, to be with ourselves, And if we're terrified about going to our inner emptinesses and disconnections and our traumas, what that means is we are going to try to get somebody else to fix it for us, and we never ever can. And I want you to understand something, that we've been taught, don't go to your emotions. They're wrong, they're bad, they're horrible. Shut them up at all costs. Have that next piece of chocolate cake. Drink that drink, have that cigarette, get on Facebook, watch TV, tune out, drone out, don't go to it, ignore it at any cost. And there is a massive cost when we're doing this. And the huge cost that we're doing to this is that we have our inner young wounded parts of ourselves that we think they're a dragon and they're screaming like a dragon, and we think that dragon's going to eat us alive if we go inwards to that and we connect with that. Hi Tiggy, he's back. And we start healing with that. And our dragon is screaming. It's screaming. And it's getting louder and louder, and then we're just trying more and more ways to shut it up. And one of the ways that we can self-medicate is we stay in horrendous relationships that are not the savior of our wounds, they're the messenger of our wounds. And we're self-medicating through the drama and the trauma, which is actually only adding to our inner trauma. But it's keeping us busy and it's keeping us alive. But eventually that can we're kicking down the road has to roll back and land straight on top of us, and it does. But what happens is when we do turn inside and we do start to self-partner, we actually find out that that screaming dragon is actually a wounded, traumatized, ignored, terrified inner child. Young, underdeveloped parts of ourselves stuck in survival programs and fear, and wanting to be loved and wanting to be healed and wanting to come back to health. And when we do start self-partnering and we do come home and we do start self-soothing, we realize that just like any child, if we're pushing away a child that's traumatized and we're saying, go away, not listening to you, that child is going to act out, that child is going to scream louder, because that's what children do. And that's what our inner being is doing. But when we come inwards with the devotion and the dedication of a mother or father bear fighting for the well-being of our cubs, when we show up with that loyalty and that self-partnering and that devotion, and when we have tools that we can up level and heal those wounded parts of ourselves that we've been running from, this is where we get a thriver orientation going, and this is where we are no longer susceptible to abusers. Because I promise you, people that are self-partnered, and there are people that are self-partnered, they've either had role models that really modeled that for them, how to self-soothe, how to sit with selves, how to be acceptable and lovable for all of your emotions, and how to work through and feel emotions, and how to honor and love and respect yourself. It's all got to start with self. Or people that just had a really beautiful ability to have an open heart and a heart-centered living, despite their childhoods. There are people like that. I certainly wasn't one of them. I had to work at it, absolutely. Or people that have done the work to claim and feel their wounds and release them and up-level them and evolve themselves. There are people like that on the planet, and when you start gravitating to a thriver inner orientation of self-partnering, they're the type of people that you're going to draw into your life, and they're the type of people you're going to recognize and be with, and or offer the opportunity to people to rise up into an evolutionary, honest relationship with you. Honesty starts with self. And if people can't meet you at that level, well, then that's okay. You know, they're doing their journey, you're doing yours. Because I promise you, we do not accept or partner with, if we're not self-partnered, we partner with people that are also not self-partnered. Narcissists and codependents. Now, codependents can raise up and we can elevate them with us. narcissists at this point don't want to become conscious, and that's okay. That's just their journey. So it's so vital to know people are treating us how we treat ourselves. In my 3 Keys private Facebook group today, we're having a workshopping experience with an exercise that people are doing in regard to coming home with self-partnering. And one of the ladies wrote today, she said, you know, I've been so terrified about, you know, meeting my inner wounds, but I've got to the point I've really realized that whenever anybody's got close to me in my life, as soon as they start getting close, they run, they disappear. And this is an absolute reflection. This is what we need to start understanding, because she's been doing the same thing to herself. She's been terrified about the dragon, which is really a child that just needs her love and her connection. And because she hasn't been doing that, other people have done mirrored exactly what she's been doing to herself. So, you know, when we get more fearful of staying on the same painful trajectory than what we do of coming home to self-partnering, that's when we start self-partnering. And not only is that the absolute key to not be narcissistically abused, it is also the absolute key to heal from narcissistic abuse. And this is why people on abuse forums are not recovering and they're not getting better, because they are pointed in the exact opposite direction. Because when we're blaming and shaming someone rather than self-partnering, we're only adding to those wounds, because that young unhealed part of ourselves is screaming like a dragon for us to come. And we are going, shut up, I'm blaming this person, I'm completely ignoring you. What do you think happens? More traumatization. So I really hope that's helped. And if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, because I would love you to help support this mission, this world consciousness, the raising of consciousness, so that people can come out of victimization towards true healing, because that's what's going to heal our planet of abuse. So please comment and support this mission. Also too, I would love you to subscribe to my channel so that you get regular updates on all of my videos coming out. And also too, you can go to my website to get your free New Life Starter Kit, which has a ton of my resources in it. And I'd also love you to join me on my webinar. Come into my next webinar in the next couple of weeks, where I can get you in a Thriver orientation and really help you connect and self-partner and heal and up-level and change your life beyond description. So everyone, keep smiling and keep thriving. Let's thrive, because there's nothing else to do. So that's it from me. To the next video, and lots of love. Bye-bye.